Panasonic Lumix DMC G7, the Lumix G7 hits the target for families in motion. I liked the Panasonic Lumix DMC G7 a lot more than I expected. The G7 brings the company's mid-range line of enthusiast and family-oriented interchangeable lens models up to date with features like 4K UHD, ultra-high definition, video and the company's most recent autofocus and image processing systems. The result is a very good interchangeable lens model that's a good, as well as smaller and lighter, alternative to many comparable DSLRs. The G7 comes in solid black or two-tone graphite and black, in a variety of kits worldwide, one with a 14 to 42 mm lens, $800, 680 pounds, 1,000 Australian dollars, one with a 14 to 140 mm lens, $1,100, 850 pounds, 1,500 Australian dollars, one with both lenses, 1,200 Australian dollars, and body only, 600 pounds, 900 Australian dollars. However, in the US we'll only officially get the 14 to 42 mm and 14 to 140 mm kits, and it looks like the dual lens kit is only available in Australia, at least at the moment. Its photo and video quality is quite good for its price class, especially if you spring for something a bit better than the kit lens. Photos have somewhat better than average dynamic range for a 4/3 size sensor, colors are quite accurate, and its low-light JPEG photos remain decently detailed through ISO 1600. If you process RAW you can get even more detail out of the low-light photos, though like most of its competitors you still lose a lot of highlight and shadow detail as light drops and ISO sensitivity setting rises. The 4K video looks really good. Seriously, 4K in general is visibly sharper and more detailed than HD and is easy to work with and play on different devices. Persnickety viewers may find bright areas a bit washed out, but otherwise it displays few artifacts and the low-light video is quite clean. Overall, the G7's performance is up to whatever most families and travelers may throw at it. It takes a middling 0.6 seconds to wake up and shoot. That's more than twice as long as the similarly priced Nikon D5500. For example, slow startup is one of the few remaining drawbacks for mirrorless cameras in comparison to DSLRs. Panasonic's autofocus system is pretty fast, as is the 14 to 42 mm kit lens we tested with. Focusing and shooting in good light takes only 0.1 second, which rises to a still good 0.3 second in dim light. Camera response when you factor in image processing is a little slower. Time to take two sequential JPEGs runs about 0.4 seconds. That's not bad, but it's not quite as good as competitors. Shooting RAW drops that to a much better 0.2 second. With flash, the time rises to just about 1 second, which isn't bad. Continuous shooting with autofocus is quite good, running about 6.5 frames per second for more than 30 JPEGs. It takes a bit longer to process the images, though that doesn't interfere with starting another burst just reviewing the photos and changing settings. It's not quite as impressive for RAW shooting, although it can sustain a burst for about 6.2 FPS, that's only for 8 frames after which it slows down a lot. In the limited number of cases where you can forego continuous autofocus, exposure and white balance like jump shots it can shoot as fast as 8 FPS. The 40 FPS super high burst mode doesn't use those either, and it sets the picture size to small, 4 megapixels. If you're shooting very short sequences, the 4K photo mode is probably a better option than that, since it shoots a short 30 FPS short burst of 8 megapixel photos from which you extract and save the ones you like. Action shooting with the G7 was a surprisingly good experience, even with the kit lens, as long as you're in bright sunlight. I achieved an excellent ratio of usably focused to out-of-focus action shots, both in sunlight and at dusk with the Olympus 12 to 40 mm f2.8 lens. It grabs focus fast, which comes in handy for street photography, too. In complete let the camera pick the focus areas mode, it's just slightly better than most cameras. It's still inconsistent about its choices and tends to default to the nearest object, but if you give it another chance, it frequently makes more intelligent guesses.